Perfect. So, well, thank you for having me here, and I'm really glad to have this opportunity. Today, I think the idea is to introduce 7VORTEX. I was thinking about 15 minutes of introduction of a little overview, and then another 15 minutes of getting hands-on with the tool and showing, but strictly in the website. I don't know if that's okay for you, or how do you want to proceed?
Yeah, well, that sounds fantastic. I'm also very grateful to have you here today. It's not often that we have the privilege to get a tour on the software from the developer themselves, especially not a tool like 7Vortex, which is so very unique, and is quite an integral component for the certificate on regenerative entrepreneurship. So I'm quite excited that we get to get our little personalized tour so you can show us around all the cool features that the platform you've built has.
Sure, perfect. And yeah, I have to say that I'm really glad to be in this program. Like I've seen what people in the program have been able to do with the tool, and I think it's just a perfect fit. That's really important, right? Because it feels like myself trying to be regenerative, and then we all have this kind of inquiry or this quest, and it's very difficult just to make sense out of the reality. And then I hope to inspire many of you. And it's, as always, it's not about the tool, but really about the process. And the process has taken me here, and I'm going to start with a presentation then. So let's say 15 minutes, and please just mind the time so we can be efficient for everyone. Okay, sharing screen. Let me look for the controls here. Okay. Cool. You see it now? Yeah.
Yes, perfect.
Perfect. So, well, first of all, 7VORTEX, it is the tool and the platform, but it is also a company. And the company is much more about collective intelligence than just the mapping part. And it started from a place of love. And the company belongs 50-50 in between my wife and myself. And that's important because as you have mentioned, just accepting our feminine side, it matters, right? And through the actions, through the behavior, and through business, we can also be representative of this, and not just, but also for the family, because it was born when I was having little babies. So for me, it was important to mind the future of my family, and to say, how can I actually let them be in a better world that I inherited. And I think by having this is just a very different motive than trying to build a tool. And
Yeah.
that wasn't the purpose at all. But it happened to be. We were also sharing in Yucatan with other nations, like the Flamingo Nation, also the Turtle Nation, and the beach. As you know, it's a place where lots of other organisms are going there to nest, and that was my case. So we nested in Yucatan, in El Cuyo, and it was very important for us because then we realized that it wasn't just about our family, but it was about the living beings of the world, and the living sea, and the living planet, and we designed all this without the internet.
Mm.
So yeah, so this is just very, very important. And the idea, the main idea, let's say the function is knowledge transfer, and how they describe it in As Nature from the Biomimicry Institute is a knowledge management software inspired by ecosystem. So that will be, let's say, the definition. If you go to As Nature, you can get it there. The way I see it is a collaborative living system shared with an engaged community. So we had this. We've been pioneers in the act of trying to have a live project, and we were losing the information every time. So it was kind of we're giving the knowledge and the data to someone else, and we're losing it every time, and that led us always with empty hands. So how can we actually create an impact and have the numbers, and have the possibility to show that we are part of something bigger and that we are not alone? And Over time, we try to empower perspectives and connect solutions. We've been online since 2017, and we received page views from 178 countries already, and from more than 5,869 cities. Those are numbers from last year, and it is just very unique because we like to say that it's a platform that works like nature. So this is the biomimicry component. And why does it work like nature? We have a biological model. So this is the description also that is in nature, but it's basically like in an ecosystem, the organisms interact. So life happens through interaction and interdependencies. So when they affect to each other, they also share resources directly or indirectly, and that means that they exchange. So for me, that was the deep pattern. This interdependency, this interaction that we like to talk a lot. It has a biological pattern, and the biological pattern is this one. So the relationships, interactions between like the two organisms are these ones, and they could be positive, negative, or neutral. When they are, for example, negative, that means competition. And I've learned business as a way to compete with others. So we were in war, and we're trying to crash the other, and didn't make any sense for me. But I understood it until I saw the biological patterns, because then when I saw that collaboration was plus plus, then I said, well, this is why, right? Like I like to be in teams that are actually enhancing each other, in communities that are enhancing each other. But what about predation? Like really, because when you say war and they say, yeah, but there is always one that wins. So when you win, you are taking the energy, or when you're killing someone, you are taking the energy of the other one, and that's predation. And that is a relationship that stays at very specific moments, but it is not all the time, because then otherwise you exhausted the energy of the system. So we really need to mind about these energy exchanges. And I would love to see this as a ledger, as we said in our last conversation, because with this you can see, for example, if you might be earning money in this side, like plus plus, you are making and making the others earn money, but you might be killing the river. So this allows us to see the whole business in a different way, because it
Yeah,
would be
for
more complete.
stakeholder mapping, this is incredible.
Exactly. And then when you have these relationships, you have 9 combinations possible. So the whole system stabilizes at 9 combinations. You cannot do it differently. So I think that is a great insight from biology, and we call it the pattern. And this is why, although it looks like a mind map, it is really about knowledge ecosystems. So a vortex is a knowledge ecosystem or an ecosystem map, but it's really about the energy exchanges. That is the uniqueness that we have in 7VORTEX. It looks the rest. I needed to build it in a way that was connecting and shows both the nodes and the relationships, because that's how the ecosystem is connected. But this idea of connecting the relationships is interesting. And so when I did it, it was also interesting to see the first creation. I think, I'm not sure if this is from Luis Camargo, but it might be, like this kind of narratives, that Ikigai is a very like soft concept, right? And when you have this narrative of Ikigai, what you love, what you can be paid for. And I saw these kind of curations, as I call them, in 7VORTEX, and I said, "Wow! I never imagined these kind of things. Like I was thinking more in the ledger, in the stakeholder mapping, but then it gives you a narrative, and this narrative is very unique. So it really depends on each of us the way that we want to create it. And if you put Ikigai in the open source, in the creative source that we have in 7VORTEX, you will find this map if you want to analyze it a little bit in detail. This one is another one that is it belongs to a Maori person. And I like to use it just to show how the indigenous people, and they can express ancestral wisdom. And this is also important because that was part of our intention. We wanted to create these bridges in between different cultures, because as a species, we don't think that we can afford to not to listen those who has evolved together with us, right? like they have this wisdom, and this wisdom needs to have a voice. So 7VORTEX is this space also for the voices of nature, or voices of the earth, and mind maps, they were there before as technology than text, than linear text. So we shared mind maps before than the paragraphs, for example. So that's why it's also a common universal language in between all of us. And this is other reason why we chose mind maps as to express it. And you can find these or many others in our inspiration source, as we call it now, which is at 7vortex.com, and we're going to explore it a little bit later. And in this spirit, maybe we can jump there, and then I come back to this one. Maybe it's a better idea just to have a sense of the reality. So if you come to 7vortex.com, you will get into the dashboard, as you call it. And this dashboard is just a community creations, and it's open, so public creations from our global community. And whoever wants can have a free user. In my case, I have the user and also the let's say, let me just stop sharing it to not to show my password. So whoever wants can come here, and just with an email, you can have a user. So money is never a wall. And we wanted to express this from the side of generosity that we learn from nature, right? Like you always get fruits and all this abundance. So how can we actually give first before asking? And this is the idea that as far as you share with the others, then you can come here and you can see like different creations. So for example, I've been working with UPenn, Penn State, sorry, Pennsylvania State University, and they presented around vortex around coastal biology, and for example, fisheries impact, right? And when you come here, you can whether collaborate, because this is collaborative, or you can just take a look. And the first thing that you can do is just play with all the buttons. Like as many as you see, you can play with all of them just to try to see, and you start learning about, for example, the connections, right? There is a predatory relationship here. I'm not judging if it's right or wrong. I'm just seeing what, yeah. And then you have different kinds of tools, so you can see all of them, or you can see the ones that they have the stars, so they've chosen to show just few of them, or you can start by the beginning, by the first bubble, and then from here you expand it. So for example, this is the team, this is the impact of fisheries, and then you can have a lecture that is systemic. And this is, for me, what it was missing a lot, because usually also in other tools, they give you templates. But I needed to empower humanity to be expressive and to be creative, instead of trying to put all the templates and all the things. So the image is also a part of the thing. So if you see them all together, for example, you can just put them free, and then you can start playing also with the movement to see if there is some centrality. If this is a created layout, if you free them, then you can also see a degree of centrality. So it might change, it might not. It doesn't look like, but the centrality is how many connections you have. So overfishing is the one that has more connections. And then here you have it by the stars that they put it. So for example, we can see overfishing on its own, and then go and understand it. So can you imagine, it's like having a kaleidoscope of a whole topic that is important for all of us, fisheries, and then it's open, and whoever wants can get there and have a look. And you can say, well, is this right or not? It's up to you also to check the information, but the idea was to have an ecosystemic canvas that allows us so they have a very interesting relationship here that is minus a competition between overfishing and mental and physical wellness. And what do they refer to mental and physical wellness? This overfishing can disrupt the diverse nutritional intake of certain communities. So you can immediately see the intention of this vortex or map or presentation or whatever you want to call it. And we see many of them. For example, if you have also the discovery part, the discover. Once that you have your user, you can come here, and I will show it later. But you have, for example, a collection that is called biographs. So in the biograph, you can also learn about different people that are
People.
very, very interesting. Yeah. So for example, I think Edward is around here. Here. Edward Mueller, founder of UCI, but also Paul Stamets, John Fullerton, Alan Savory. So the idea is to not to have to reinvent the wheel every time. And I couldn't see a place where I could find all this information around regeneration global movement. And with many of them I have worked with. And I thought that they were so interesting that I wanted to share it. So for example, Paul Hawken it's one of the interesting ones. So I put it as a feature collection, and this is open for everyone, and we have few of them. So for creating one map, it's very straight to the point, which is here you have a bubble. You click on create. The first one that you will have it's a playground. It's not meant to be public, but you cannot change the title. You can just play a little bit just to not to create a mess and to be free to play. But in every bubble, you can put a title. You can put, let's say, here one of the nice example is humanity, for example, and then you put a link. You put a timestamp if you want. This is just to collect information. You have 6 colors. You have to choose one of these colors first, and then once that you have chosen it, you can change it, and you can upload an image or a YouTube link, and then you always have to put it here like set as a media. So it's kind of a little bit primitive, but let's say that it works pretty well. And then you can put an abstract. This is not meant to be a document; it's just an abstract and a tag in case that you want to highlight something. So I want to put an X. So I save it, and then when I hover, I see the image that is behind. Uh, and then let's say let's put now the planet Earth. So I'm gonna take a long time, but it's just to see something different. And let's put it here and save it. So now we have this, and well, now the image is loaded, so we can see one or both. If you saw in one, I put X, so whenever I click on the content, it highlights the image. So that's also a good opportunity to, let's say, code visually whatever information you want. And here, this is what regeneration talks about. Humanity is kind of predating the Earth so far. And what we would like to do as humanity is to be positive with the planet. So as every other species, we should extract something as nutrients, but we also need to add value. And this question has been solved, or at least represented visually, thanks to the biological relationships. So I think it's just mind blowing when I realized it. Right? And you can put behind another image as a background, and then to play with the possibilities of what you are trying to communicate there. If you put it as an image, it will be like this. If I put it as a template, then I can also play with the position. So for example, I do this, I want to put this in my brain and the other one in this brain. So now they are like fixed. So you can create interactive infographics, which is also very, very cool as a tool.
And if
Right?
you hover in the relationship, you can add more details about what that implies, right?
Exactly,
So,
exactly. Because well, the idea as a ledger is to have the calculations, right? But in the beginning, you will have an image, or you have a video, you will have a text and a link as well. So you can be explicit on why do you think it is like this.
And so one thing that I've always wondered about 7-Vortex is how to display like nested relationships, because I understand how you can unfold the map, but I am curious when, for example, if we were to want to represent within planet Earth humanity, is there a way to do that yet?
let's see if I understand. For example, if I make this one bigger and you want this one inside,
Yes, pretty much. That's kind of what I was talking. Interesting.
yeah. So you don't see the line, or you can hide the line. Like here, these buttons are on off, or you can just delete it. For example, I will put it back, right?
Uh-huh.
But if I don't want it, I can delete it,
You can delete it.
and then
Interesting.
I just move it here, and then you can do as many as you want and the size as you want. Yeah. The interesting part is to have information from both, right? So
That's right.
if you connect it, then you will know that this is nested with this one, well disconnected with this one. But as you can see, for example, if we do many and you have the star, and I want to
Mm-hmm.
show this relationship from this one, and this one, that those are the gray ones. Then I put the star on the top. When I come here in the layout, I will see the 3 stars, and then I will see just these 3 ones. So if I want to start my story by these 3 points and then unfold it in such a way that allows me
Mm-hmm.
to tell my story in this way, then it's really up to me. So you can have different entry points, and you can decide to show 2 or 3 of them.
Okay, this is quite
So it's very
amazing.
versatile, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think like you, like in this way of nested one inside the other, like conjuntos, like yeah,
Anidados, básicamente. Ajá.
yeah, nested, right? And but it is feasible. And for example, I've been learning also from other people about erasing the relationship. I didn't think about it. And it's interesting because we all have different views, and
Yep.
it's very versatile. Since I have designed it with the biomimicry life principles, then it is nested and related in this way, right? So it makes
Mm-hmm.
sense naturally to do these kind of things. So let me go back to the presentation now that we have seen, and I think would be a little bit redundant, but we can go fast. So the business model, because it is meant to be a regenerative business, right? So you have the reader and you have the curator. So you don't need the user to be a reader. You can
Really.
read just in the open source. And then you have a curator, is for free, and then you have Curator Pro, which is 10 euros per month or 100 euros per year. And this is private ecosystems. Usually it's because you are making money out of this, and this is kind of the
Mm.
model. So you don't need to use it because it doesn't give you any feature that is unique, except that you need to keep the secret because you are doing consulting, or and then this is the idea, right? Like
And
when
what
you
that
do
means
that,
is like your maps, if you're a Curator Pro, your maps are not publicly accessible. You won't find them in the dashboard, and that privacy
yeah,
is what you're buying. Okay.
yeah, exactly, that's it. And it was tough to get to this business model because it's really the intention matters, but the way that you execute it matters the most.
Yeah.
So it is not easy, but it is getting there. And then we can do co-development. So the way I wanted to prepare this presentation, it's like how to regenerate revenue for regenerators, because this is what we are, right? And we often struggle on how to make revenue for us. So if you do the tool and then if you pay the license, that means that, for example, if you do a customized curation, then you will get at least your membership. So this is how you will pay for it, right? And this curation. So now we go to the idea that you
Mhm.
have the stakeholder maps, but what others kind of things are there, and how you can actually make it worth for your professional life. So topic center networks, they are also paying for this kind of creations. Let's say if it costs 100 euros, then you can charge 150, 300. This is what the market has been paying me for doing like small creations like this. Collaborative research, as the one that you saw in for Penn State,
And so just to be
multidisciplinary
clear, when you
perspectives.
talk about like the topic center network and that curatorial work, what that means is client pays Hugo to sit down and do a bunch of research and put it into the map in a way that looks interesting, represents factually the types of relationships that are there established and so on. So basically you act as the generator of the information, right?
Exactly. The
Okay.
curator of the information,
The
right?
curator, yeah,
That is why
sure.
you are a curator pro, yeah. And or they charge you to do a stakeholder map.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
my understanding is that Refi, Daniel Camilo, that was there also in the program, they are already doing this service for some enterprises. Because the first thing, and you also put that question aloud, is what is the ecosystem? How does it look like? Okay, so this is my service, and I'm going to use the tool. And it is not just the tool, but it's my service and my way of connecting things that actually gives me the value. But finally, you have a platform that allows you to express what you are seeing and make sense with life, right? But you can also do an interactive framework. It depends on what you are looking at. So, for example, this is part of the collection of biographs, but just to show some examples of working with John Fullerton and showing this the regenerative economy as an interactive graph. But also, I've been contacted by Kate Raworth
Mm-hmm.
because Kate wanted to do Vortex around a challenge that she put out, that it was the 8th way to think like a 21st century economist. And it was a list. And this list didn't make a lot of sense
Mm-hmm.
because you cannot see how many are in nature. And so she didn't have insights from the list, and she wanted to give back something special to the community. So she did a
Sure.
vortex with all the entries. This is also open in the platform in the inspiration source. And what we realized is that nature was having more centrality than any other, so more connections. So
Mm-hmm.
nature was more important than she thought in all these
Mm-hmm.
economic mindsets. And you can see that just because the centrality of the software. But you cannot upload just a database. You have to put it one by one. With Janine Benius, which is more from the side of the Biomimicry Institute, I was working with Beth Ratner. They asked me to make the network, the global network of biomimicry. So this is super interesting because then I was creating this for about 3 months.
Wow.
And I was doing interviews and I was asking the people, how do you see yourself inside? So instead of having a survey that is already fixed, then you keep adding the categories that you didn't know that they existed. So it gives you more insights because it's self-emerging. And this is how nature works with
Mm-hmm.
self-emergence. But in the beginning, you don't exactly know how it's going to look like. But it is interesting because then Janine, for example, put this on thanks for your important work, Google, connecting more of the network to itself. That's how nature works, develops, and complexifies. That's for painting these intricate portraits and helping us to see ourselves. See ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool, right? And it's like this is John Fullerton, this is John DeLew, this is Daniel Wall, Janine, Luis, Kate, and I think one of the professors in the UCI is Melina, which is also has been using 7VORTEX since the beginning as a biomimicry professional. So one of the initial intention was to let biomimicry professionals to have a tool, and this is how we use it. So by the numbers, within 8 years, we have more than 6,000 curators, more than
Mm-hmm.
18,000 ecosystems, more than 300,000 bubbles, and more than 600,000 page views. So in the beginning, nobody believed in this, and they
Mm-hmm.
were kind of comparing directly with other graphing tools. But I'm pretty sure that it is not just about the tool, as I said. It is about
Mm-hmm.
intention. It is about the community. It is about what you do, the example that you give, and the way that you act that brings the community. And thanks to this platform, I've been able to show these numbers. And
Mm-hmm.
following other platforms, then I have nothing, because
Mm-hmm.
they take all your information. And what could it happen if we use all this information for a better purpose, for,
Mm-hmm.
let's say, regenerating the planet? And this is like some screenshots from the last presentation with Penn State, just to show you how the students are showing it. And it was a very nice surprise for a professor because she's Colombian, Monica Medina, but they cover a lot of ground. And usually the students, they don't have all these interest, or they don't know enough about the tool because about the subject. But by doing this and by connecting, by working collectively, they couldn't avoid learning. So they
Hmm.
were covering a lot of ground and really getting the big picture. And this is from,
Yeah,
well, your
last
program,
year,
and I think
years ago.
that's your program. And I found it very beautiful. I never thought that it was going to be like this. But then it's a canvas, right? Like an
Right.
ecosystem canvas. So it's really for expressing ourselves. And this is the one also for
It's a current cohort.
2024. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty cool. Like when I see it, I say, "Oh, well, they are doing something special." And this is the discover part. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about the three collections. So I start to see it as a media, for example. And I'm going to start with the biomimicry one. And I couldn't see a lot of places where you find information around biomimicry. So
Mm.
one of the collection is about biomimicry, and then you can find Dana, which is my mentor, but also some talks that we did in Mexico or biomimicry and finance. So all these kind of things that I've been putting together, I put it in
Hmm.
this collection. And for example, this is the whole biomimicry professional network. So if we do something similar for the whole UCI, that would
Hmm.
look like this, and it could be really, really nice to have this directory. The biographs I shown you already. Um, the Loki 7, then I work it as a media. And it's a since it was very difficult to find relationship in the phone, then I thought about just 7 bubbles, which is very easy to grasp.
Mm.
And I was putting my favorites in the 7 bubbles. So I have created more than 131 lucky sevens. And that means that we have a lot of information that could be related in the future.
Mm.
So I've been working as a media like this. So just to give you some idea. So we went from customized creations to live performance. And this will be the second level. So live performance, it will be really
Yeah,
like mapping the network live,
live.
but not just yeah. And that is very unique because it's really impressive. The workshops, conferences, webinars, hackathons, summits. This is
Wow.
all researches, and this is a podcast. This is from the Global Health Hub Germany, GIZ, that took me to Berlin to map with them. And in the beginning, they don't believe it, that you can do something different. But as you start mapping and they realize that they can actually add their information, they see their information, the collective gains clarity. And, and it's like a magic moment, right? Like the aha moment, but in a collective way. This is, for example, for R3.O. I think you
Okay.
mentioned it. Yeah, one of their conferences. 1 year, I mapped all of them.
Wow.
So there were 21. I was mapping live for them, and it was such a beautiful experiment. It came out as an art piece. Yeah, and it's all available, so you can go back and see the video plus the mapping. So you can see the conversations happening live, and this is also something that you cannot do when you upload a database because it's really sensitive, right? Tec de Monterrey, I've been training professors in biomimetics for them to use it in their courses as well, and to do researches and to better show because they teach biomimicry, but they don't have a canvas that works as live. So they've been using 7VORTEX for that. And in COP16, I mapped a few of them just live, bridging between art, science, and indigenous knowledge. So you can do it in events and create experiences. So this will be like the live performance. And then you have extra projects that could bring you more, right? It depends on, because this is just the beginning. So in my case, I'm also working in negocios regenerativos or regenerative business. So I did for a network on Sustainable Seafood Alliance, I think is the name.
Mm.
Um, I did a tool that is the one that I was sharing or trying to share with you, where I use the planet, I use the network, and the ecosystems, but I also use the profile in as a hive. And this profile helps you to see opportunities, collaboration
Hmm.
opportunities. So I'm getting a little bit further, and this is also something that I wanted to share with you, like the way I see regenerative
Mm,
business emerging. So there are institutions, so government, banks, corporates, bioregions. There are watershed-based, of course,
mhm,
urban areas, production, and wild nature, and they are all getting into these normal industries and disrupting them in a different way. Could be regenerative tourism. The names change a little bit. It depends
mhm,
on the region. But doing this together with 7VORTEX and with this gradient, for example, from degeneration to sustainability, resilience, regeneration, and abundance. Because I needed to put it. This is for impact evaluation, and then once that you get into impact evaluation, the tools like metabolic curve will be helpful to better understand the bioregion. And then I started that to have the feeling that technology was serving for something, because that was a big issue for me, right? Like
mm,
it wasn't really helping, and this is what I did for Costa Rica Regenerativa. So it was also an evaluation tool where you can see the portfolio of projects of the community organic gardens. And so this is just to say that by starting with something simple, you can get to different revenue streams at the same time that you do your regenerative work. So if
mm.
you start by your own community doing all these things, then you can keep like climbing in terms of revenue, and little by little you do your work and you have a tool, and of course it's our goal to regenerate the earth. So let's say that this is it, and well, 17 minutes, not so bad. Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Um, I I don't even have questions. I just kind of want to use it now. I think it's a little bit of how I'm feeling. Yeah, sure. There's so much. I think at the CRE we've been underusing it. Um, because I never saw it framed like how you just have, which is the benefit of talking with you. Um, yeah, thank you very much. This is very inspiring.
Oh,
It's activating.
cool. Thank you. I hope it's gonna be useful for everyone. And whenever you want, like I like to put my energy and my intention, as you also described, the mycelium, right?
Hmm.
When it finds a way and it branches out.
Yeah.
So this is the way that I've been doing 7VORTEX, not using marketing, but more
Hmm.
like integrating development with growth.
Hmm.
And it is a whole challenge, because being from business and then working with biomimicry principles, it creates almost a contradiction. But I believe that if we do have better examples and better business with values, then it will be easier for everyone just to follow that path, and for the next generations to go one step further, right? And this is what I understood. Like you just need to do your part, and then the next one will do another part, and then the next
Hmm.
one will do another part, and this is where we are. So if you also want me to present there a few or more, or maybe they see this video and then they
Yeah.
want to ask for something else, or yeah, I'm up to it, of course.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, just to pick up and where you said that it might be contradictory. At least I am a firm believer that like true creativity and true innovation happens when you take two counteracting, contradicting, opposing ideas, polarities, and you find that commonality that helps you transcend that polarity. Good old dialectics, if you might, which I think we need more of this in this world. We are too stuck in polarities and in black and white, yes or no. But the way forward is always somewhere in between. So I thank you for doing the work of standing in those dichotomies and building technology that serves life in order to break away from that.
Thank you for appreciating that, because I got very often this question of what is different from your platform to other mapping tools.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's just a misunderstanding, right? because it serves a whole different purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and the the shape fits function.
Yeah.
So it might be evolving and changing over time, and I think this is just the beginning. And when you were asking, well, not asking, but let's say a big challenge in the program is also how to make money.
Yeah, sure.
And I wanted to share as is separate but together. Something that I saw when I was in Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so in this COP, I went to the COP in Cali because my mom is from Cali.
Okay.
So they were kind of messing up in my neighborhood, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the bad boys came to town.
Yeah, yeah. So and they were attacking sugarcane plantations, which are monocultive and all this stuff. So it's again this dichotomy, and that created an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I say whether I am standing against one or the other, or I take the opportunity to build these bridges. So
Mm-hmm.
I decided to build the bridges, and we secure at the end through the industry 1,000 kilometers of biological corridors inside the
Wow.
sugarcane plantations, which is the distance from side to side of France, for example, from one
Wow.
ocean to the other one. So that's a lot, and that is just working with artists and doing our work and
Mm.
putting some pressure and doing all this stuff. And we call it. Let me see if I have it here, and well, I will show you the Instagram, uh, which is mebuscan.co. So it should be here, over here. You know where to change it? Or maybe around here. So we play with this idea of the Jaguarundi and with the beings that are behind the sugarcane plantations,
Mm.
right? So we created this collective, and we worked with the whole like it was a coincidence, but artists and people around it, and we're using the organism to show the biodiversity that is already there because it's
Mm.
important. So we run a whole campaign, and this is the kind of art that I do.
Mm.
And this was more about the jaguarundi and the sugarcane. So it was also to give the producers a way to get out of
Mm-hmm.
their mess of the monocultives and to say like let's support something in common. And
Mm-hmm.
we did it. And as I told you, those are the results. So I presented the idea of a regenerative sugarcane, which they were not agreeing with me because
Mm-hmm.
they didn't want this term to be out, but then I pushed it, and I said we need to talk about it, right? Because otherwise, it's not going to be in the collective consciousness. So we did all this like branding, but I did something in Costa Rica that I liked it a lot as well, which was really close to this campaign, which is Regenerama.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I thought, like, if you can run this with companies, you can bring money to in a campaign that will raise awareness of the people, but then you will also bring the money to co-create more.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to bring some main industries. When I was there, I was thinking about the cell phone companies or big campaigns that are around Costa Rica. And this is what I used to do before marketing. And I run like a national TV campaigns and radio campaigns and
Mm-hmm.
all these things for big companies. So I believe that there is a nice opportunity. So those are my pieces, but even just with merchandising, like
Mm-hmm.
how to create something like very, very unique and locally attuned and adaptive for the Costa Rica people, and then bringing some value around regeneration and bringing money
Nice.
sponsors. And then there's a parallel thinking, as the engineers from Czech Republic like to call it,
Mm-hmm.
around it. And maybe the income it is not just from the program, but the marketing of the program, and then
Mm-hmm.
not just one source of income. So, and if you want to see more about this, well, the site is Beaver Fishery. And this is where all my
Do you have any more of those shirts, the Regenerada Maya or the caps?
uh, mm, I have them here, yeah, of
You have
course.
them there.
And
Okay.
that was my last. But for example, in El Cuyo, this I work with the flamingos. So we did the whole stencils around the town, and it was a great success. So really, like using nature as for marketing for regeneration, it goes very well. And what I did in Guanacaste is to let the prints into a local shop. So
Mm,
let's say that if you are around where we used to live in Matapalo, then you will find the shop and you can reorder. So the idea
mhm,
was, if it was a success, you can keep asking them, and they can keep producing it, and that will help like local people working on
mhm.
regeneration. And this is all about collaboration, right? Like every business that we do and everything that we are trying to is and maybe you were also interested in that part, which is
Yeah, the
metabolic earth.
metabolic. I've seen it. I was very
So
impressed.
metabolic earth is this piece where I wanted to show. I do art, right? So this is another, let's say, digital bio art piece. And what I wanted to highlight here is the blue veins of the planet.
Mhm.
So by using information from different sources, open sources, I put a planet where, let me just take out all the rest of the weather. So humidity, and then you see the veins of the planet. And for
Mhm.
example, this is where agriculture started,
Yeah.
and this is where the Roman empires were getting also food. So it is interesting to see that veins are everywhere except
hmm
where agriculture started. And when we try to see the world in a way, for example, I'm gonna put here wind and humidity. We tend to see that the Amazon are the lungs of the planet. But what we're missing is the point that this is not the global south. This is the tropical core of the planet.
hmm
And the tropical core goes from here to this part
hmm
to this
Through to
part.
here.
Yeah, and it's bioclimate zones. So unless we understand that this is the core of our planet, it's going to be difficult to address systemic solutions
hmm
because the south is here and the north is here, but
hmm
the tropical core is here, and this is where diversity is, right? And
hmm
if I've been requested by some of the sponsors to put also advertising agencies, commodities, and stock exchanges, and you can see that are related to the cities.
hmm
And I'm not sure that it works this database anymore, but let me see if it does, because it sometimes takes a little bit of time
hmm
to charge it. But if you see the pollution, for example, and the gases, they are all related to this other point. And this is very interesting, right? Because then they should be acquiring also responsibility.
Yeah.
And what we did with some of the, like as a way to experiment with 7VORTEX, it's to put some vortex located. So for example, the idea was indigenous people mapping their knowledge, but geolocating it so they don't lose property.
hmm
So you have a new digital asset on the top of the territory by using 7VORTEX and by geolocating it here. So, for
hmm
example, this belongs to someone, and since everything is related to the user, then you can also give back to the user. And
hmm
let's see where it comes. I
Average
think
it back. Okay.
the connection takes a lot whenever I am Zoom, uh,
hmm
plus the metabolic curve, so it will come. Let's see, it was getting there. And some other thing that I did here, I'm gonna now take out this market, is to put the networks that I was working with. So, for example, Ubiquity University, Global Regeneration Collab, Donut Economics with Kate, John Fullerton, Regenerative Communities Network, Melina was also there, Ecosystem Restoration Camps, and Biomimicry Global Networks. And what I realized is that we're more and more, and it's important to be inspired, right? And to not to feel alone, especially because we are kind of alone in our own societies, but we are not alone when you see it globally. So what I did is to make just one big collage of all this, and to be able to see it as in all these bioregions. So what you see here in white are the bioregions from one Earth. So how would the world look like if we see the movement, like the global regeneration movement, plus the water veins, plus the bioregions? And I think we're a lot everywhere in the world. And I hope that this is also inspiring for everyone.
It is good to see that it's enough of us to tilt the scales. And
Exactly.
as Margaret used to say, it has always been but a small group of people that has changed the world.
Look, this is, for example, possible futures.
One of the
And
conference.
yeah, so she's, I think it's a she, but might not be. But the stories of the global south. And so I've been trying to empower every single movement, every single initiative. And so far, as I told you, we have more than 18,000 of these maps. And this is all native technology-wise to AI. But there is nothing of AI inside, but it's just native in terms of information structure. And what if we can use it for a different purpose, right? So when you were asking also like what is next for 7VORTEX, how can we see it? It could be blockchain, but it should be like this distributive, decentralized, like a civil band for humanity. And the idea is that it could last for many generations, also to keep serving life.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Incredible. Okay. We're running out of time, but I do have several things that I want to chat with you about. But I'll text them to you. Um, and we'll be in touch over the next coming days. Hugo, thank you so much for the tour
Perfect,
and
man.
showing all of your work so openly. It's beautiful, it's inspiring, it's a lot of work, man. It's somebody's done the work.
Yeah.
And it's good to know that yeah, there's people like you out there putting in the hours to reconnect, and connect more. It's what we need.
Well, likewise. And this is why we need to show the path through collaboration.
That's right.
Well,
Right
thank you
on,
very
man.
much. And then text me with whatever you need, and I will
Yeah,
be.
fantastic. And please
Yeah.
send me the recording when you have a chance.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, as soon as
Amazing.
possible. Bye bye.
Okay, bye bye.